Merry Meet, Annie here. I have a couple videos I'm hoping to do over time that actually came out of the Q&A series that I did, and they were questions that I didn't think could be answered in a couple of minutes. Either because I respected that they were very important questions to the people who asked them, or I just felt I had a little bit more to say than combining them in with some other questions. And this is one of them. And this question came from Unity Spirit. And I hope you're okay. I haven't seen you online recently, I don't think, so I wish you well, Unity. And the question was, I think it was actually something that may have been posted on a Pagan Perspective video that I did. Can you tell me how you keep your faith in what you practice? I get excited learning something new, then the frill falls off and I think, oh, it's only make-believe. It doesn't mean anything. How do you feel passionate and faithful that what you're doing is real and right? Can you give me advice on keeping joy in a path? So let me think first about the trying something new. Because I really relate to that, Unity. Yeah, I relate to the bright sparklies. And the bright sparklies are things that attract us. And they can attract us at the intellectual level, as well as they can something pretty we see or something we want to try. The thing that captures our attention. Sometimes to the point that, and this is the way it is with me, I want to read everything, I want to research everything, I want to try everything. I really just get a little bit overboard with something. It's a bright sparkly and it just captured my brain. And it captured me and I just wanted to experience everything there was about it. And then I understand fully what you're saying. Gung-ho, gung-ho, gung-ho. Is that all there is about some of the studies we take on? The deflating of the balloon almost, it can really be a challenge. It helps to think of these bright sparklies as an intellectual pursuit, as a pursuit that has to do with wonder and curiosity, that something captures our attention. The beauty of it is exploring it. It is not in the end whether it is something of import to us, how momentous it becomes in the end of it all. It could be life-changing to us. It could rattle our roots and give us something new. More often than not, it's something that is interesting, intriguing. We learn something, and perhaps nothing particularly momentous comes out of it. What we don't know is if later in life, something about that takes on a meaning to us it may not have had when we were studying it or trying it now. There can be value in some of these experiences at a later time in life. And why I'm saying that is it's been that way for me. There have been times that I've gotten that build up, build up, build up, build up, and there's been no crescendo. There's been no big moment. There's been, like the air came out of the balloon. It's done. And later in life, there's something from that takes on great meaning for me. A recollection, an emotion, an experience that becomes important that actually wasn't earlier. So there is that possibility of any knowledge, any experience to gain becomes part of the library of who we are. And it might be nothing more than a reference. It might not be an epiphany. It may be nothing more than a reference, used or not used in our future. If we enter into these searches with, it's curious, I'm expanding my experience of existence, I'm playing in the world of curiosity, just wondering, and we don't hold expectations over it as we enter it, that helps. It really, really does help. It just might become part of the encyclopedia that we individually are. Every now and then there's no doubt that something will have an important meaning for the here and now of our life. That's why I love the quest. But the quest is so much about the quest. It's about exploring and new things, keeping ourselves engaged, different perspectives, different experiences. Your comment on, you get to a certain point with something and your interest falls off. You called it the frill falling off. I love that imagery. And then you think, oh, it's only make-believe. It's a very powerful statement there, I think, because we don't want to be living in a make-believe world, do we? There isn't meaning to that. It's not why we explore a spiritual path. If We welcome the sense of exploration, of collecting information, of seeing what becomes personally important to us or not. We might not so quickly get to that deflated feeling of it's only make-believe, because we are indeed discovering what is fact for us. What is it for us? It's not going to be what it was for another, whether they're sharing knowledge or facts or experience. So whether we are learning from others in person or with books, it's not going to be for us what it was for someone else. And if we know that I'm an explorer in this spiritual world, then the things that have personal meaning, they stand out like bright beacons. They really do. There's the collection of knowledge that we gather, and then there's the moments that are the bright lights that are separate from that. Maybe they're inspired by the studies, inspired by someone else teaching us, or an experience they share, or knowledge they share. But in the end, it's personal. If we don't expect that someone else's epiphany is ours, someone else's experience that will work for us, if we collect experiences and use the childish part of us that wonders at the world, and by that I mean wonders in amazement and naivete and curiosity and absolute joy in soaking it all up and experiencing it, with really no expectations, be like a child. And if something becomes meaningful to you, outside of whatever it meant to somebody else, then you have your moments. Those moments will not be make-believe. They will be real to you. You asked about how I feel passionate and faithful that what I'm doing is real and right. A great part of that is because I was taught it can never be for you what it was for someone else. You get to your own place. You get to your own place. You believe it to be real. It is not what someone else thought it might be. And you ask about how do you keep joy on a path? You know, I've been asked that a lot recently, and I appreciate it because we all set ourselves out on a path. We just start off like soldiers marching along a path. No matter what that is to us, whether it means collecting of information or experiences or having a focus at the far end of the path that we're trucking toward. It's like the Emerald City. We are going down the yellow brick road. And then things happen. Things don't feel right. And we do lose the joy. It's not feeling real. We're not feeling connected to it. And I am honored to pass on one of the most important things a teacher ever told me. And this applies to all of us, no matter the paths that we are walking, no matter our own individual yellow brick road. The path is definite, and it never changes. It never changes. And if you interpret what I just said to mean we're trotting along like good soldiers headed to the Emerald City, no. Your path exists, and if you suddenly freeze and shift direction, or you pause and you stop, whether you're aware you're at a crossroads or whether you just feel for the moment you're standing still, you are on your path. You're on your path from birth to death, and we might say before and beyond. The path doesn't change is what my beloved Rachel, one of the most influential people in my life, one of my priestesses, taught me. Your path never changes. I see a lot of guilt on YouTube when someone just gets to a point where either they feel they're frozen in time, or they feel like, okay, yesterday I was Wiccan and today I'm not. Or today I'm pagan and tomorrow I want to go back to the Christianity of my family's heritage. And they feel that they are shifting path. It's a dramatic change and they've changed their path. I want to offer what Rachel said to me. Your path is a given. Your path is a given because it is yours. It's unique to you. You do walk it alone. You learn from people along the way, and it sways and it turns, and sometimes, boy, it's a drastic shift in a different direction. You can't put an Emerald City at the end of life's yellow brick road. That's my analogy of what Rachel taught me. She came into my life when I was 40, and it was not a good time in my life. My health was in bad shape. My closest friend had just died. My marriage was crumbling. I was, after many years, having problems with violence and negativity and physical hurts done to me early in life, somehow coming back into who I was emotionally and impacting me. I struggled with career, with community. I lost my circle of many years. Everything was in upheaval. Death, change. She came into my life at that point. At a point at which I would have thought my path was changing drastically. And one of the first teachings she brought to me was your path doesn't change. You are solidly on your path. The responsibility we have on the path is singular. It is the step forward, the one step forward. We have moments at which we need to stop and be. She told me the responsibility life was one step forward. And then, of course, one step forward. But the forward she taught me, and Unity, that's why I wanted to share this, because when you ask about joy, I think of the times in my life when that was absent, for oh so many reasons. Joy disappeared from my life, from my path, when there was this shining goal that I thought I was walking towards and I needed to be striding. So when I wasn't, I was disconnected, I was lost, and I was still having this pull towards this thing that I saw as this is where I'm going. And my natural, beautiful, perfect path was just wandering off this way. Or it may have been at a crossroads where it made a drastic change. When I was unhappy was when I fought that. We got to get rid of the gleaming emerald cities at the end of our yellow brick roads. This analogy of life as a path is, it's always your path. And as Rachel taught me, the only responsibility we have towards it is one step forward. I really have to say that the greatest joy in life I have received from, as you talked about it, as you referenced it, being on a path, is embracing Rachel's teaching that we are always on our path. There's no shifting of path. There's no changing of path. In a way, it's very much about being in the moment and taking responsibility for momentum. You may not know where that path is going, but the feeling of motion and momentum and moving, the coming from inertia to just flowing forward, even that little bit, that first step, to me, is the embrace of looking forward, and indeed the experience of joy on my path. And I use this example because the times in my life when I was not in joyful relationship to how it felt the direction of my life was going, it was because the construct that I had put out there was forcing myself to head in a direction that was not my natural path. I offer you in the hope that that is encouraging. Very interesting question. I know many of my viewers have struggles of all different kinds, whether it's in your life, with relationships, with health, and also indeed our relationships with community and our spiritual way forward. This is a great opportunity to hear from those of you who can share this topic of how to keep joy and embrace our path, and indeed what this word path means. Do we limit ourselves by it when we think of it as a paved road heading off in a particular direction, or what can path be when it means that there is a beginning place and an end place in the progression of our life, if it's in this time of our life, or if it is a beginning to what we experience in this world and a place that we leave this world from, the path not ending. However we look at that path, as we're always on it. But if we embrace that our entire history is the path, and that we are exploring yet another aspect of who we are, The change becomes that one step forward that Rachel taught. Thank you, Rachel. I know you're gone, my dear, and you're watching me from another place now. But what a life-altering view of the path and joy and what momentum and change and transformation meant to me. You brought to my life in your simple yet very complicated suggestion of what our life paths might be. I wish you all that moment, that one step forward, which to me is where we embrace joy. And of course, mirth and reverence. Mary Part.